What's up, guys? Barbarian or Bust here with another Barbarian build. Today it is Deathblow with the Walking Arsenal build. To start off, you have to use Overkill for this one. I tried to do it with just a regular mace, and if you see here, this mace right here is pretty perfect. I mean, besides having perfect stats, like all stats, strength, overpower, damage to berserking, that damage to berserking is pretty perfect. Overpower is mid-range. Strength is mid-range, and so is all stat. But even if those are perfect, you can't beat Overkill. So for this build, you're going to have to use Overkill. If you don't have an Overkill, you can still do it, but it will not be nearly as good. I just want to show you the difference. So if we put on just a regular mace, our Deathblow does 89 to 108 damage. Okay, that's not bad. Now with the Overkill, what is that? It's like 1.5 times. So ranks to Deathblow is huge. Can't stress that enough. Have to use the Overkill. Anyway, so this build is fun. It is slower than Charge Rend. It's slower than Charge Upheaval. It's even slower than the Bleed build. It's just, if you have an Overkill and you want to try a build for it, I would suggest trying this. Or if you just really like the Deathblow skill. So starting with the helmet, we use the Helmet of Might. And you have to get ranks to Deathblow on your helmet. That is 100% mandatory. This helmet is perfectly rolled. We have a total armor, we have maximum life, cooldown, and ranks to Deathblow. And we use our basic skill for this as it's a walking arsenal build. We always proc that. And our basic skill is going to be our two-handed weapons. Next is the Juggernaut aspect. This one's amazing. This chest piece is less than ideal. It doesn't need the total armor roll. It needs a maximum health roll. And we do need the fire and the shadow resistance. But damage to swap to new skills, to new weapons, that's good for this build, but I would rather have a damage reduction. So I would make this a total defense. So max health, 1, 2, or up to 3 resistances if you need them, and then a damage reduction. And here we have our Earth Striker's Gauntlets. These are overpowered Earth Striker Gauntlets because we are weapon swapping all the time. And this is pretty perfectly rolled with strength, attack speed, critical strike chance, and 4 ranks to rend. If you wanted to, I'm using rend as my core skill. You could use double swing as well. If you do that, you would want your lunging strike to be your slashing, and then you'd want obviously double swing to be your dual wield. So you can use either or. And on our pants, we have the Iron Blood. We use this because we have Rend, and we're using Rend. If you don't want to use Iron Blood, you could use the Protector, which gives you a barrier. And with these ones, I have also another resistance roll, a max life, berserking duration, and strength. Those two can be moved around. I'd prefer to have more defensive stats, like again, damage reduction from close, damage reduction from distant, or another resistance if needed. And down here we have the Weapon Masters for our boots. And again, movement speed and 3 resistances are pretty much crucial on boots. We don't need Fury cost reduction, so these are pretty much rolled perfectly. And in our two-handed mace spot, we have the Overkill. This is, again, amazing for this build. And you want the rubies in there for more overpower damage. Then we have the Blade of Inner Calm. And so we are standing still when we Deathblow and when we Steel Grasp. This is really crucial for that. And here you want Strength, all stat. You don't want vulnerable damage. You actually want overpower damage or damage to close, and then damage while berserking. So these stats are perfect. These ones are almost perfect. I do have more vulnerable damage, but this is from my bleed build from earlier. And then the second one is we have the Edge Masters, and so you also again want all stat, strength, damage to berserking, and either overpower damage or damage to close. And on our two-handed slashing, we have the Encroaching Wrath. So I did this build in Season 2, and the 200% was awesome. The 120% obviously is not as good. And with the 5-second, I'm not really sure why they did that. It was kind of fun to like build it up and have it there. Anyway, so we have all stat, strength, overpower, damage while berserking. This is pretty much perfectly rolled. In this ring, so we have critical strike chance, overpower damage, damage while berserking, and resource generation. With this ring, you have a couple options. We can do Berserk Fury, because we will be berserking pretty much all the time. But I find we don't really need Fury right now because of our companion. He does an amazing job. If you have this, you know, you could pop it on there, but I don't really think it's needed. You could go Circle of Elements and get more damage, so that would be one. Or you could do the Relentless Arm Master, where we have our Walking Arsenal key bonus up pretty much all the time. You would get more Fury generation, but again, it's not really needed because our construct does an amazing job at that. So this ring is a little open onto one of these three or something else that you would prefer. And then we have the Red Ring of Furore. This ring is amazing. And of course, we spend 100 Fury by hitting Rend 3 times, which will proc our Encroaching Wrath. And then it will also proc our Red Ring. And we're guaranteed to have a critical strike. So this ring is amazing. And this is why I actually have swords here instead. Well, that besides there. These are swords instead of maces. Because of the critical strike damage. Because of this ring, because we can guarantee that we're going to get a crit, so why don't we increase our damage there? But we still want the overpower with all the gems for our Earth Striker, and because we take Bone Breaker. So a couple things going on here. And in the amulet spot, we have the Iron Warrior. This is a staple if you use Iron Skin. That's amazing. This amulet is almost perfectly rolled. So the strength is awesome, damage reduction is awesome, cooldown reduction is awesome. 2 ranks to heavy-handed is awesome, but we want the 2 ranks to all weapon mastery skills. Well, actually, we want 3, and if we would upgrade this, we would get 3. But you would want that over the ranks to heavy-handed because that is going to buff your Deathblow even further. This is almost, it's still really, really good, but it's not, it's almost perfect. So try to get the weapon mastery skills. And with our weapon expertise, we do 2-handed axe because everything will be vulnerable all the time. And for the skills, you put your dual wield on lunging strike and you take 2 points there just for the enhanced. And then you're going to do max points in Rend for Enhanced Rend. And the choice is yours. You could take Violent and deal more damage. Or you could take Furious. So you would want to take Furious if you just want to have your Edgemaster bonus 100% up all the time by always gaining top Fury. I feel like our Fury doesn't really go down that much. So I did take Violent Rend. But you can take either or. It's up to you. Down here, we take 3 points in Imposing Presence. We take another 3 points in Iron Skin for Enhanced and for Tactical, so we still use it as a potion. And in all my builds, I like to take Swiftness. And then we take Aggressive Resistance. We take 3 points in that. We take 3 points in Prolific Fury, which might not be needed because our construct does such an amazing job. Then down here, everything is close, so we take Pit Fighter. We max at our points to Deathblow, so we could actually have 3 more points in Deathblow right now. We could have that up to 18, but because of my amulet, I don't. But that is really crucial. This is what makes it shine. The more ranks, the better. And then we take Enhanced Deathblow, so we do more boss damage. And then we take Warrior's Deathblow, so we can also be berserking. So you hit Deathblow, you're berserking all the time. And if you hit Steel Grasp, you're also berserking all the time. So, amazing. And with Steel Grasp, we take, of course, Enhanced, which makes everything vulnerable. And then we take Fighters, so we also get berserking. And then we take Thick Skin to get 3 points in counteroffensive. And down here, we take the Trifecta, which is awesome because we're using our mace. So we take the 3 ranks in Heavy-Handed, we take 3 ranks in Brute Force, and we take 3 ranks in Wallop. And again, everything is vulnerable. Our overpower happens at least every 12 seconds. And then Heavy-Handed happens as many times that you can hit Rend 3 times and then do a a Deathblow. And over here, we still take Furious Impulse, so we can swap weapons and gain more Fury. Again, because our construct does such a good job, you could move these out, and you could put them anywhere else as well. And we take Wrath of the Berserker with Prime Wrath of the Berserker to Supreme Wrath of the Berserker. And for our key passive, for this one, you could take Unconstrained, or you could take Walking Arsenal. Honestly, the choice is yours. There's good arguments for both. Because like we're still going to do weapon swapping, we're still going to do all of that. So Walking Arsenal is like a good choice. But at the same time, if you don't want to worry about weapon swapping, then Unconstrained would also be amazing as well. Choice is yours. And with the skills, make sure that your Rend is on your slashing weapon. Make sure your lunging strike is on dual wield. And make sure your Deathblow is on your Overkill mace. And for the Paragon board, in our starting board, we have Exploit. And you just want to get enough dexterity to make the additional bonus that everything will be vulnerable all the time. And our second board is Bone Breaker, where we have Wrath. And you want to max out as much dexterity as you can, but with what I had, I couldn't really path over to like these two right here. So I left those out. But we have Wrath specifically for our red ring because we can guarantee critical strike, so we're going to guarantee to get this damage. If you wanted to have more consistent damage and you don't have the red ring, I would use Territorial, because that way everything's always close. It's a good damage buff, and that way you don't need to proc anything. So for some reason, if you don't have the red ring of Furor and you don't want to use Wrath, definitely use the Territorial Cliff. And our third board is Carnage with Might. And our two-handed weapons are our main source of damage. Rend is a secondary source of damage, which we use a two-hander. And of course, the Overkill mace is our main source of damage. And we put Might in this board so we can buff our damage to Berserking and our damage reduction. And then our next board is Decimator with Ire. And basically right here what we're doing is we're just looking for as many strength nodes as we can get. And then over here, this is the Weapon Master board, where we actually take the Weapon Master glyph. This, in my opinion, the Weapon Master glyph is perfect in the Weapon Master board or in the starter board, because their bonus to physical damage is basically physical damage or physical damage over time. And your damage reduction modifiers is just armor. Armor is the only thing that reduces physical damage. So if we put it in this board, it's like useless. Same with this board. But so it would go good on the starter board because this is identical. Or in the Weapon Master board right here. And we take this because we're deathblowing all the time. And if we, for some reason, don't kill an enemy with our two deathblows, we want this to reset. We want this to reset as fast as we can, so we can hit Steel Grasp, and that also reduces the cooldown by 2 seconds. Really, really important for that. And then our last board is, of course, Blood Rage. And that we have Crusher. So in this one, we obviously have this for the overpower damage, and Crusher, our mace, is our main damage dealer. The damage to bleeding, even if you use double swing, I would still keep this like this, because the thing that we're most concerned about is the mace and is the overpower damage. So for some reason, if you use double swing and you don't even do any bleed damage, don't worry about that. Because for example, with Crusher, like I wouldn't put it in there because Exploit is too hard to proc with where the dexterity is. Yeah, this is basically a strength or a willpower board right here, Blood Rage. So that's what I would suggest. And with our construct, it's the same as all of my builds that have been for the season. Flash of Adrenaline, duration support, tactical support with initiative support. And then you put Tempest, with resource support, safeguard support, and fortify support. Our fortify is up all the time. Like, this is my favorite for this construct. You don't notice them, but you can still plow through everything. Alright, so that is the build, and now I will show off some gameplay. So I'm going to do a separate video for that. Feel free to try out the build if you have the Overkill mace. Without it, this build will be a little bit challenging. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.